Hi everyone. In this video, I'm going to show you how to use the SUMIF and SUMIFS functions. I've opened up the Learning Files workbook and I clicked on the toy inventory spreadsheet. Now the SUMIF formula analyzes a range of data and it adds corresponding data only if a certain condition is met. So for example, using this spreadsheet, I could determine my quantity in stock number of any of these toy categories. So let's say I wanted to know how many building toys are in stock. The SUMIF formula is going to analyze column C and look for building toys. And if it's present, it's going to add the corresponding number in the quantity in stock column. Here's how it works. You click in a cell where you want your answer to be displayed. Now, I usually like to write a question or a task above my answer so that I know what I'm looking for. So I'm going to look for number of building toys in stock. And here in cell F2, F3, I'm going to build my formula. So I clicked in F3. I'm going to click on the insert function button. I'm going to search for SUMIF, all one word, and hit go. And there it is. And I can read the description at the bottom. It says adds the cells specified by a given condition or criteria. I'm going to click OK. Now my argument windows are pretty easy to understand. Okay, the first window is my range. And it tells me at the bottom here, the range is the range of cells you want evaluated. Well, I want C3 through C52 evaluated because I'm looking for building toys, and that's where I would find that. I'm going to click in the criteria window, and it tells me at the bottom here, the criteria is the condition or criteria in the form of a number, expression, or text that defines which cells will be added. Okay, so I said I want to add building toys. So I can type building toys in this window, or I can click on a cell in my range that says building toys. So I always like to click on a cell because then I avoid possible typos. So I'm going to click on C3 because that's where I find building toys. Now my sum range is the actual cells to sum. So this is what I want to add. And I said I wanted to know how many I have in stock. So I would have to add all my quantity in stock, D3 through D52. And it's given me a little preview of what my answer is going to be. I click OK. And according to this formula, I've got 2,763 building toys in stock. Let's check that. Okay, our formula is going to update automatically. So right here it says I have 54 building toys. I'm going to change that number to 500. And when I hit enter, watch cell F3 to see how it updates. Now it says I have 3,209. Okay, let's do it again. This time, let's figure out how many books are in stock. So I wrote my task just so I know what I'm doing. In cell G3, I'm going to click the FX button, get my SUMIF, and then just read my window. My range is where I might find the data I'm looking for. So I'm looking for books, and that would be under toy category. So I'm going to select the whole range. Within that range, what am I trying to find? I'm trying to find books. So I could click on it in the range to avoid a typo, or I could type it. My sum range is what I want to add. And I said I want to know how much I have in stock. So I'm going to add all the data in column D. And when I hit enter, there's my answer. I have 21,936 books in stock. So now we're going to work with the SUMIFS function. It's almost the same thing as SUMIF. The only difference is it lets you add more than one criteria. So for example, I could find out how many building toys I have in stock from the Nickelodeon Toy Company. Or I could find out how many books I have in stock that were shipped by road. All right, again, I'm going to write my task in cell H2 so I know what I'm doing. So let's say I want to find out how many books are in stock that were shipped by air. Okay, so my two criteria are books and air. And what I'm adding up is my quantity in stock. So we follow the same process we did for SUMIF. I'm clicked in H3 because that's where I want my answer to show up. I'm going to click on the insert function button, and I'm going to search for SUMIFS with an S at the end. There it is. It tells me it adds the cells specified by a given set of conditions or criteria. Okay, my argument window opens up, and it's asking me for the sum range first. And if I look down here, it tells me that's the actual numbers that I want to sum. So in this case, it's all my quantity in stock. So I'm going to select D3 through D52. That's what I want to add. Criteria range 1. What's the first thing I'm looking for? According to my problem, it's books. So the range that I might find books in is toy category. So I'm going to select all the data in column C, C3 through C52. Criteria 1, what am I looking for in that range? I'm looking for books. So I'm going to click on it, or I could have typed it. Criteria range 2, well, the second thing I need to know is how they were shipped. And I'm looking for shipped by air. So I might find shipping information in cells B3 through B52. What am I looking for in that second range? Criteria range 2, I'm looking for air. And again, I could type it in, or I could have clicked on a cell that contains what I'm looking for. I've entered everything I need to, so I'm going to click OK. So according to this formula, there are 12,366 books shipped by air. Let's change the data in cell B4 from road to air. And watch what happens to my formula in cell H3 when I hit enter. It updates. All right, let's do one more. This time, let's figure out how many dolls came from the Educational Fund Incorporated company? Dolls are in stock from the Educational Fund Inc. Okay, so again, I'm clicking in cell I3 because that's where I want my answer to show up. I'm going to go get my SUMIFS, and I just used it, so it's here in my recently used. My sum range, I want to know how many dolls are in stock from the Educational Fund company. So I'm going to need to add my quantity in stock. The first thing I'm looking for in my problem is dolls. Dolls fall under toy category. So my first criteria range is C3 through C52. What I'm looking for in that range is dolls. So I'm going to click on the cell that holds dolls. The second thing I'm looking for is my supplier, okay, Educational Fund. So that range is in A3 through A52. And what I'm looking for in that range is Educational Fund Incorporated. So I'm going to click on a cell that holds that and hit OK. So according to this formula, I have $7,348 from the Educational Fund company. Now let's take a minute and look in our formula bar. Okay, this is where formulas seem like they're complicated. Okay, if you look in the cell, I've got my answer to the calculation. If you look in the formula bar, I've got the calculation. Okay, it says equals. It tells me the name of the function, SUMIFS. And then in parentheses, I have all my ranges and my criteria specified. If I want to take a closer look at how this formula was constructed, I could open up the argument window and I can see it there. So if my results pulled an error, like let's say for criteria 1 dolls, let's say I typed it in and I didn't put dolls with an S, I just put doll. That throws my results off. This is telling me I've got 0. But if I look at my data, I know just by looking at row 16 that I have some in stock. So that's an indicator to me that there's an error in my formula. If I open it up, I can see I typed doll instead of dolls. Now my formula is better. So my point was that you can read your formula in the formula bar, or you can open up the argument window to get a better look at it because it's broken down better. Okay, let's look at a SUMIF. Okay, if I click on cell G3 and I read my formula bar, I can tell I've used the SUMIF because it says equals SUMIF, and then it's telling me it searched through the range C3 through C52 for books, and then it used D3 through D52 to add my data. Okay, hopefully you guys can find a use for SUMIF or SUMIFS. They're really great formulas, and I know they've helped me out a lot.